All right, buckle up, buttercups, and grab your teacups because we are about to spill all the Earl Grey on the enigma that was George Michael. Was he simply the angel-voiced heartthrob with pipes of gold, or did this pop deity have a few skeletons rattling around in his oh-so-stylish closet? Did Everything She Wants morph from a chart topper into a real-life shopping list of drama? And honey, let's be real, were those infectious Wham beats sometimes just a little too funky for the straight-laced narrative? Let's dive in. Okay, hold your horses. Before we plunge into the delicious depths of the gossip, let's rewind the tape. Yes, an actual tape for you youngsters to George Michael's beginnings. On June 25th, 1963, in East Finchley, London, this kid practically popped out humming a catchy tune. Growing up around London, music wasn't just a passion, it was practically in his DNA. Then came high school, the hallowed halls where he bumped into one Andrew Ridgeley, and bam wham was conceived. Like Lennon meeting McCartney, but with more hairspray and fewer psychedelic detours. Their shared obsession with pop music was the stuff of legend, a perfect harmony destined for the charts. Now the whispers back then painted George and Andrew as quite the odd couple. George, apparently, was the shy, slightly awkward kid carrying a little extra padding, while Andrew was the effortlessly cool, outgoing dreamboat everyone swooned over. Talk about your classic high school movie trope, the sensitive artist and the popular jock, but make it British pop. A real poison dynamic, if you ask BBD fans. They even dabbled in a ska band called The Executive. But let's face it, that venture didn't exactly rub you the right way. It vanished faster than a TikTok trend. But hey, every superstar needs a flop origin story, right? By 1982, they charmed their way into a record deal, and Wham exploded onto the scene. Their debut album, Fantastic, charmed the UK, landing neatly at number 4. But when it hit the States, forget about it. With their boyish good looks, Andrew definitely leading that charge initially, Wham became the quintessential heartthrob machine for legions of screaming teenage girls. Their sound? Imagine Motown got a youthful synth-pop makeover, utterly irresistible. Then came 1984, the year of the album, Make It Big. And oh boy, did it ever. Wake Me Up Before You Go Go didn't just climb the charts, it pole vaulted to number 1 in the US. Suddenly, the world was awash in Choose Life shirts, white shorts, and enough neon to power a small city. Seriously, the fashion choices alone deserved their own zip code. Let's not forget the smoldering Careless Whisper, technically his first solo foray but released under Wham, and the oh-so-prophetic Everything She Wants, which also hit the top spot. George wasn't just cooking in the studio, he was serving a 5-star musical feast. Proving he wasn't just about catchy hooks, George joined the star-studded Band-Aid charity single, Do They Know It's Christmas, lending his voice to Ethiopian famine relief. A pop star with principles? We love to see it. Wham even generously donated the profits from their massive hits, Last Christmas and Everything She Wants, to the cause. And get this for a global power move. In 1985, Wham became the first Western pop group to perform in China. They kept the Goodwill Tour going with a legendary performance at Live Aid later that year, where George belted out, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, alongside Sir Elton John himself. Chills. Literal chills. But let's be honest, even within this dynamic duo, George's supernova talent was impossible to ignore. As the lead voice and chief songwriter, his solo destiny was practically written in the stars. After Wham's final studio album in 1986, Music from the Edge of Heaven, which gave us gems like Where Did Your Heart Go and the absolute bop I'm Your Man, George was ready for his close-up. And talk about starting strong. His first solo Grammy wasn't even for his own album, but for that iconic duet with the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, on I Knew You Were Waiting for Me. Now that's how you make an entrance. All right, lean in closer, because this is where the pristine image starts to crackle. George Michael, bless his talented heart, was no stranger to a juicy scandal. Consider that image officially poisoned by 1987. With his groundbreaking album Faith, George swaggered onto the scene rocking a leather jacket, designer stubble, and a whole lot of smoldering attitude. Hello, transformation.
Faith, George Michael, album producer George Michael.
Musically, he dove headfirst into funkier R&B-infused territory, and the world ate it up. The title track, Faith, was a global phenomenon, followed by monster hits like Father Figure, Monkey, and One More Try. But wait for it, here comes the controversy. The track, I Want Your Sex, Oh Honey. The title alone screamed parental advisory sticker required, didn't it? Subtlety clearly took a vacation. Many US radio stations clutched their pearls and refused to play it during daylight hours, if at all. Too hot for daytime radio. Despite the censorship attempts, Faith went on to sell a staggering 25 million copies worldwide and bagged the Grammy for Album of the Year in 1988. Turns out, a little bit of scandal is excellent for business.
And the winner is George Michael.
But George wasn't done making headlines for reasons other than his platinum-selling records. Fast forward to the gossip earthquake of 1998. Picture it. George Michael arrested for lewd conduct in a public restroom. Honestly, where else but Beverly Hills could such a perfectly scandalous celebrity drama unfold? The media frenzy was instantaneous and intense. Suddenly, your grandma, your dentist, everyone had an opinion. This rather unfortunate incident, however, became a pivotal turning point. George Michael publicly came out as gay.
The songs that I wrote when I was with women were really about women, and the songs that I've written since have been fairly obviously about men.
While the whispers had followed him for years, this was the official declaration. In subsequent interviews, he handled the situation with remarkable candor, refusing to be ashamed. He essentially turned a potential PR nightmare into a moment of liberation. Talk about taking a Ronnie situation and owning it. Behind the glittering facade of fame, George Michael carried significant personal burdens. The loss of his mother, Leslie Angold Panayiotou, to cancer in 1997 at just 60 years old, devastated him. He spoke openly about the profound depression that followed, admitting it was the closest he ever came to losing the will to live. His love and respect for her were immense. Poignantly, he shared her anxieties about his sexuality, revealing her fears for his well-being and her unfounded guilt over potentially passing on a gay gene. It paints a picture of deep familial love intertwined with the societal pressures of the time. Adding another layer of complexity is the story surrounding his maternal uncle. George had mentioned his mother finding her brother deceased shortly after George's birth in 1963, initially suggesting an accident. However, later accounts point towards suicide, a family tragedy that reportedly haunted George. He feared inheriting mental health issues like schizophrenia and channeled these complex emotions into the song My Mother Had a Brother. This narrative reveals a backdrop of hidden sorrows and emotional weight within the family. Tragically, George's own death on Christmas Day 2016 casts a somber echo back to this painful family history. Even creative titans clash sometimes. Take the sizzling 1992 track Too Funky. The music video was initially set to be directed by the legendary fashion designer Thierry Mugler. His directorial debut, no less. A match made in high fashion heaven. Right? Well, not quite. Word has it that George and Mugler had visions so divergent they practically existed in different galaxies. Sources claim they had a major falling out during the shoot, leading to Mugler not receiving the final directing credit. The video famously credits the director with a giant question mark. Guess that collaboration ended up being a bit too hoochie-coo for everyone involved. And who could forget his epic, drawn-out legal war with his record label, Sony? In 1992, George sued them, seeking freedom from a contract he felt was creatively stifling and fundamentally unfair, locking him into delivering 6 more albums. He was basically pulling a Taylor Swift before Taylor Swift even owned her first guitar, fighting for artistic control. This very public battle dragged on for years, significantly impacting his musical output during that period. It was a bold, I gotta be. free move against the corporate machine, highlighting the perennial power struggles between artists and labels. Despite a triumphant career resurgence in the mid-2000s, marked by the hugely successful 25 Greatest Hits collection and subsequent sellout tours, George Michael's story ended far too soon. He passed away peacefully in his sleep on Christmas Day, 2016, at the age of only 53.
Who have confirmed the death of the singer George Michael at the age of 53.
An autopsy later confirmed his death resulted from natural causes, specifically dilated cardiomyopathy with myocarditis and a fatty liver. He was found by his partner at the time at his home in Goring-on-Thames, Oxfordshire. The world was stunned, mourning the loss of a truly singular talent whose voice had soundtracked decades. It was a heartbreaking reminder that even the most luminous stars face their own mortality. So, what kind of fortune did this pop phenomenon leave behind? At the time of his passing, George Michael's estate was valued at a cool $100+ million. Some estimates range up to $200 million. Not too shabby for the shy kid from East Finchley? Decades of chart domination with Wham, followed by an even more stratospheric solo career, millions upon millions of albums sold, and savvy investments certainly built that impressive legacy. His faith in his own talent definitely paid off, quite literally. How will we remember George Michael? It goes so far beyond the perfect hair, the danceable beats, and that voice. He was a true architect of modern pop. His songwriting genius, his electrifying stage presence, and his willingness to evolve and take risks cemented his status as a global superstar. He wasn't afraid to bare his soul, both musically and personally. And let's not overlook his incredible, often quiet philanthropy. He donated millions to various causes throughout his life, often anonymously. George Michael was a glorious contradiction. A global megastar wrestling with private demons, an icon of desire who championed vulnerability. While there are no new projects, thankfully, his music endures. A timeless testament to an artist who gave us everything from carefree joy, wake me up before you go, to soul-bearing honesty, Jesus to a child, and fierce declarations of self, freedom, 90 degrees. So raise a glass, put on father figure, and remember the legend who was and always will be undeniably George Michael.